and welcome back to the Strengths of G podcast. I am joined today by a wonderful guest, Leanne, who is an amazing netball coach, mum, and inspiring business owner. So this January, I wanted to do something a little bit different with my podcast. I wanted to do what I'm calling a series of laughing our way through January. And it's a series of relaxed chats with coaches I love, honest conversations, chatting about our training journeys, but also hopefully making you laugh and just telling some stories about awkward moments we've had in the gym or just things that make it a bit more real, that we all kind of go through the same struggles with motivation, the same struggles with training and with life in general. And I know that January for some of us can feel quite heavy. It's a very dark month. Long days, a lot of long dark evenings, and motivation can actually be lower. So I wanted to kind of shift the focus away from that pressure to be doing more and to be perfect and to train harder and eat less and do more, and instead focus more on remembering that movement can be fun. And Leanne is a perfect person to chat to about that because she's very passionate about netball. I'm going to get her to introduce herself and talk a little bit more about who she is and what she does. But yeah, I'm excited for this episode. So, Leanne, what?
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, I thought you could do a bit more of an intro on like your background, what it is you do, what you coach, what your passion is, and even just telling us a little bit about netball and like what position you play and stuff like that.
Okay, so I've played netball, so I'm 48 now, and I'm just about holding on with my fingertips. I play regional level, so I mainly spend most of my time on court chasing around 18-year-olds or younger. But I've been playing now for almost 40 years, since I was about 9 years old, and I always tell the story about when I first saw netball. And I have an older sister; she's a year older than me. And when we were at primary school, you had to be, I think it was in what is now equivalent of year 5 or year 6 in school before you were then taught netball. And it was after school, and because we would go to and from school together, I would have to hang around and wait for her while she did this netball. And I still to this day just remember the first time I ever saw this game, and I was just like, what is this? And from that moment, I just fell in love with netball and have always loved netball. I still look at it in the same light, with the same eyes, like I'm that, 8, 9-year-old girl. And I couldn't wait until it was my turn to play. And I basically haven't stopped. I took a couple of years off at uni, but yeah, for 40 odd years, or almost 40 years, I've been playing netball and absolutely love it. And most of my life has been spent just playing. I've had other jobs, and I run a netball club. I've been running that for about 25 years now. And about 10 or so years ago, I joined another club as well, where they were playing at a high level. So I was playing regional. And it was when I started having children, like I've got a whole brood. I've only got 2. But when I had kids, especially when I had my daughter, like throughout my 20s and 30s, I had a really poor relationship with myself, poor relationship with food, poor relationship with exercise. And it was only when I had children that I then decided that I just can't continue to live in that way and talk about myself and treat myself so badly. Because if I ever saw my kids, particularly after having a daughter, do the same sort of things as I used to do, it would just break my heart. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided to change things. And it was during COVID as well. And I think lots of people went through lots of life changes through COVID. And I decided I wanted to become a personal trainer. I'd done run coaching. I'd obviously was a netball coach, been coaching netball for years. And I decided I also wanted to be a personal trainer. So I decided when lockdown finished, I was going to go and train and do that. And before that, because I'd never really never gone to the gym. Well, I'd been to gyms before, but I didn't know what I was doing with weights and things like that. So I'd spend most of my time on the treadmill or the bike or something like that, or go on a couple of machines, but not really knowing what I was doing and what it was all about. Certainly
Mhm.
wouldn't have gone anywhere near the free weights. Wouldn't know what the hell I was doing with a barbell or a dumbbell or anything, or even a band. So I wanted to learn how to use the gym properly. I didn't want to go into a personal training course with this, because you have this image, don't you, when you go into a personal training course, that as a 40-year-old woman, not only you're going to be twice the age of everyone, you'll probably be one of the only women, and it's just not like that at all. So, but I wanted to make sure that when I was going to go there, I actually knew how to do certain, exercises and how to lift weights and stuff like that. So I got my own coach, but also I got it because I wanted to sort myself out. Initially it was absolutely aesthetic goal. I wanted to lose weight. It wasn't long after having my second child, and I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to build muscle. I wanted to look good for me, but also learn about, nutrition, lifting weights and things like that. And so that's what I did. And it was purely just to do my personal training course or anything like that. And then at the time, so I was being 42. So it was only 6 years ago now. And at the time, I started then noticing how much better my netball was getting from lifting weights and things like that. And it was never a consideration, because it was nothing that was really linked. None of my friends really went to the gym. I didn't know any netballers that went to the gym to train for netball. It was never really spoken about at the elite level and things like that. Not outwardly, not like it is now. And so strength and conditioning for netball was never really on my radar. But then I was like, oh my God, I'm getting older. Yeah, I'm getting better at netball. And, I was still able to not only improve, but hold my own against some really amazing young players. And I was just like, this is it. This is what I need to share with the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Because I was in my 40s. I've been playing, so the local league where I've been playing is the Croydon Netball League, and I've been playing in that for over 25 years now. And I've been watching, the people who I started playing with back then are now, quote unquote, just umpiring because they can't play anymore, or they're starting to go down the teams within their club, or completely give up because they're not fit enough, or their knees are knackered, or whatever. And yet there was me, who was improving all the time, and still able to compete, still in the top team of the club, still playing regional. And the only difference between me and them was that I strength trained.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's such a big thing that came from, yeah, not well, it wasn't what you went in for.
No, not at all. Didn't even consider. I just wanted to look good for me and learn how to lift weights, and then be a personal trainer where I train women to lift weights and get strong. It honestly was never on my radar.
Because so when you decided to become a personal trainer, it wasn't to coach netball. It was
No.
more of like a lifestyle change.
Yes. Yeah. It was just, I really enjoy, I've always enjoyed sport. I've done triathlons, I've done ultra marathons. I've always been sporty. And so it was just another thing that I could do. At the time, I was a therapist. So I would do like sport and not sports massage. I never did that. Indian head massage, reflexology, that kind of thing. So it was another service that I could provide to my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And because I love all the coaching that I do. And I remember talking to my husband, I said, oh, I really want to do personal training. And we converted our garage to a gym, so I could do it at home while I was doing all my other treatments as well. And my husband's incredibly supportive, and he was like, well, that's quite obvious, so yeah, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Netball was never on the radar for that. Netball was just something it was just my hobby that I was incredibly passionate about.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I then started noticing the difference it was making for me, I was like, this is what I'm to do. This is my, not only my dream job and everything, but actually this is now, I realize this is my purpose. This is
Yeah.
what I was put on earth to do,
Yeah.
and I need to share this with the rest of the world, particularly those in their 30s and 40s, have to understand that netball is not over for them. It's not downhill from now on. You can continue playing at a good level.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been such a key message that you feel so passionate about, but also it was like your message is, you can keep playing netball into your 40s and 50s and 60s, but you need to strength train and I'll help you.
Yes.
And this is how you can do it.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple message, but I guess the key thing that you're saying and that happened is that no one else was saying that. You hadn't
No,
heard it before.
no, no, not at all. And, you know, it is a lot more prevalent now. And I don't know if it's because obviously I look for it now and I'm more aware of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember at the time anyone, not even at, elite level, like the England players, not really talking about their strength trainer or anything like that. And certainly there was nobody out there, and there still isn't people out there now who are, encouraging women in their 30s and 40s to strength train, to play better netball, to keep playing the netball and keep in the sport that they love.
Mm-hmm.
Because netball is like with every sport, I'm sure it's the same with parkour and it's
Yeah.
the same with any sport. When you're in that sport, the people who are in that sport, we are all so passionate about our sport and what we do. And it's much more than, like, netball is much more than just being on court and playing netball. It means so much more to us. And without being able to play, it really does put a downer on life in general. And I'm sure
Mm.
it's the same if you couldn't do
Yeah.
parkour anymore. Like, that's a
It's
real
so interesting.
sad point.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I also had a few years off at uni where I dabbled in it a bit, but I didn't have as strong a connection with the community, and there just wasn't as much of a community when I was at uni, where I was at uni. And I did stop for a bit. I think that was the main moment, yeah, when I stopped. And I remember going back to it and being like, oh, why did I stop? Like, it just felt so good. And it's so funny because now I'm very much like pushing my level and like really focused on performing better every year. But actually, if it was stripped back, if I couldn't do it for a period, just being able to do it would give me so much joy, no matter the level, no matter whether I was progressing. Just being able to do it, that is the big one of the biggest jumps, is like not being able to do it and being able to do it. It gives you so much joy. Then yeah, you can get into like the minutiae of like, oh, I'd like to get better at it. But actually just being able to do it gives me so much joy. And I personally feel like I want to keep doing it forever. It will change probably as I get older, most likely. But it can still be just like people dance. It's kind of like dancing on walls. Like, you can make it more low impact or you can take loads of drops, but you could make it like a little flow on walls. And that's something I can see myself doing well into the future. And there is a part of parkour where people are like, kind of see it more as like a temporary thing where, like, as you get older, I won't be able to keep doing this. And I'm like, that's fine. If you don't want to do it as you get older, that's also fine. But I don't think that's the only answer. And I think if you want to do it, or you may find you stop because you feel like, oh, my knees hurt, I'm going to stop. And then you miss it. And I hope to provide like, well, here's what you can keep doing. Here's an alternative. And also, yeah, it is about managing. I mean, parkour specifically, it's about managing volume, managing load, and maybe stopping when you start to feel. Well, stopping certain movements when you start to feel your knees, at least within that session. But yeah, there's definitely parallels, and that strength training is something that can help you to keep going for longer. And actually, parkour does require a lot of strength. And if you're just taking impacts and not strengthening your knees, but specifically like your calves, your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes around that, then your body might start to. And it's really interesting because you see, I don't know if it's like this in netball, but you see like the top level athletes, and I think sometimes people think, oh, but it's so and so, or oh, but they're built different. And it's like, yeah, but there's also probably a lot that person does that they don't post about. They probably are doing. I can think of two people that I'm like, I bet they're doing a lot of strength training and cardio and mobility, but they just were, you know, probably set up really well from a young age and have just carried on doing it, that they don't really post about. They post their like huge parkour jumps or their huge successes in parkour. They don't post about, you know, what they eat for breakfast that they've eaten for years. That probably is quite a good breakfast. And, you know, they probably, and they do strengthen, they do mobilize, and they probably do all those things. And actually, if, you know, your average Joe just did those things as well, yes, they might not compete on the global stage with that athlete, but their parkour might go from like where it is now to like, you know, to the point where people are coming up to you and saying like, whoa, your parkour has improved so much. I do think introducing those things like strength training, mobility, and eating well can have a huge impact on your performance at any level, at any age.
Yeah. And I think there's lots of like hearing you talk there, there's so much comparison between netball and parkour, because when you're doing the sport, we both have impact. Like netball is constant impact, like onto the ground. It's the change in direction. It's the impact against each other. Like people think netball's a non-contact sport. It's really not. And so you're bashing against other players. You're competing for space with them, and you have all that contest against players and then on the floor as well. So it is going to go through your ankles, your knees. You know, you have to know how to land properly, both in netball and parkour. Otherwise, that your ACL is gone or your ankles are gone. Your car, you know, pushing off to jump, pushing off to sprint, pushing off a wall to jump. It's the same thing. If you don't train that properly or look after the muscles that need you to do that, that's your calf gone.
Yeah.
And those things don't happen by chance.
Yeah.
So you have to put in the work in order to be able to sustain the impact that these sports are going to do, so that you can continue to play and play safely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. So many thoughts. One was just like also people taking big gaps, especially if you just consider it a hobby. I feel like people are more likely to take big gaps, like to take time off or, you know, get distracted by something for 3 weeks or for 6 weeks and then come back and try and come straight back in. And again, that's where strength training can be your saving grace, because if you continued at least the gym in the meantime, or you take a full break but you come back and go to the gym, it can massively reduce your risk of injury because your joints are more ready. Whereas I think in parkour, it's much more of a lifestyle sport, so people sometimes do take breaks, or for example their knee hurts and then they just stop for 6 weeks and then they come back and they try and go back to that same jump they were doing before, and that's when you're actually at big risk of injury. Oh, that's what I was thinking about, is you mentioned ACL, and like, yeah, in parkour we have jumper's knee, as in like patella tendonitis comes up a lot, which is just like constant knee pain that you can't seem to resolve, and it's from overloading the joint, and also like not being strong enough and not managing volume well. But in netball, have encountered a few people from netball, and I hear of ACL a lot, and I assume that's because of the change in direction and the external impact of someone coming into you, right?
Yeah. It's mainly, most ACL injuries happen through that change of direction. That's why it's really common in netball. It's really common in football as well. And because that's what your ACL is trying to do, is to keep your knee quite solid as you are changing direction. And if you don't train the muscles around your knees to support your knees, but also train yourself to be able to land, because it's a lot to do. Your ACL usually goes when you get the knee valgus. So when your knees collapse in, when you're trying to push on the outside as well, if your muscles and your knee can't compete with that, then you've got a higher risk of ACL. Now anyone, like, because obviously ACL injuries happen at the top level, and they're obviously still training very well, eating very well and stuff like that, and so it can happen. So obviously some injuries are just bad luck, can't they? And you have that in all sports. But if you're not doing what you need to do to protect yourself, then you're just increasing that risk. And when you say about breaks as well, like netball, because obviously netball is a seasoned sport, so we have our main season is September to April, May time. And then so our off-season, pre-season is then through late spring into summer. And this is when, especially, you know, with women who are older, you're likely to have a career, you're likely to have children, so you're likely to have to deal with summer holidays, you're likely to have perhaps aging parents you have to look after, and you're likely to be entering towards perimenopause and stuff like that, so you've got all that to deal with. And then it comes to summer, and I see this all the time, that then they take a break from netball, but then they don't do anything throughout the whole summer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much just to keep things ticking over, but they do
Yeah.
nothing because everything else takes priority. And then all of a sudden, September rocks around and netball is back, and they do the same. They expect to go back in at the same level, having done, they think, oh, I might just be a little bit unfit, but actually their joints are not prepared for what they're about to do. And what we do in netball at the beginning of the season is have tournaments, and tournaments
God.
are known for injuries because it's
Yeah.
back-to-back games
Yeah.
where people not warming up, and then they're
Yeah.
cooling down, not warming up, and you're playing all these games, and you're going from nothing to playing to nothing to playing to, and so many women come out, especially when you're older, come out of a tournament and are in so much pain because that tournament hurt,
Yeah.
because their body's not used to it, like 6, 7, 8 hours being not all constantly playing netball, but you're at a netball tournament, you're there all day long,
Yeah.
starting and stopping all the time. That's a big load on your body, and injuries are phenomenally known at
Yeah.
tournaments, or even at beginning of season. So even if you don't do the beginning of season tournaments, the injury rates are the highest at the beginning of the season because
Yeah.
people don't do anything on the off season or the pre-season.
Yeah. It's a recipe for disaster because you're going back in. What they always say is like, you don't go from 0 to 100 or 0 to 150 to 100% of what you were doing before. Like, increase your loads by about 10% each week.
Yeah.
So really, you'd want to spend, at the very least, even if you do have a break, say you have June off, then spend June, July. Like you say, you don't have, sorry, not June, July, August, but you don't have to be doing a lot. And I can't emphasize enough how, like, just running on a treadmill isn't going to the gym. Because so, and it's fine. Like, I completely understand. You go to the gym, you don't know what to do. You go on a cross trainer or you go on the treadmill. But you'd be better off doing like glute bridges and ab work at home, because that would help stabilize your pelvis and that whole pelvic area, than just running on a treadmill or going on a cross trainer. And again, something is always better than nothing. So, okay, a cross trainer is better than not doing that. But yeah, really, like, something I read the other day was like, the fancier the exercise, the more useless it probably is. Like, keep it simple, but like your squats, your glute bridges, maybe your push-ups, even like raised push-ups, and some sort of pulling exercise. Like, keep it really simple, but do something. And then that way, the best thing you could do is like gradually, very gradually increase it leading up to, say, whenever tournament starts, like September. For us in parkour, it would be the opposite. In winter, because it's cold and wet and icy today,
Yeah.
it's much hard. I went out training yesterday, and we have a really great community in London, and we still get out, and that's actually so healthy for reducing risk of injury. But it is harder. It is harder to move. I move less, even like I show up, but I still move less in this weather. And so that some people don't train over winter, and then you come back, and summer is like, it's amazing in London. It's the best weather for it. You can train all day, and people will go from like not training all winter to training maybe 3, 4, 5 days in a row for hours on end. And yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily get injured, but your risk of injury is much higher, or your risk of that patella tendonitis coming back is much higher, and that's probably why it's coming back. So at the very least, in winter, you want to be strength training so that you're strengthening all the muscles around your joint to support it, and that load that you're putting through your back squat or your deadlift or whatever, or your leg press machine, is also exposing the tendons and ligaments to stress and load, which is actually what you need, because that same type of load is happening when you land a jump, or when you absorb a landing, or when you take off. I know someone who ruptured their ACL on takeoff. So that is from like lack of muscle and potentially a big gap in training, and then trying to go back to do something really explosive. So like you say, injuries are more complicated than just one explanation, but what you can definitely do is reduce your risk of injury, and also reduce the impact of it when it does happen. So I've had a lot of like trips and falls in parkour, but touch wood. Most of the time I'm fine and I'm really fine, and I think that's one of the benefits of doing parkour is like, you do trip and fall in life as well, and it's being able to catch yourself and your body being able to withstand that
Yeah.
impact. And I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
sure actually now listening to you talk about netball, again, it's similar. It's like you're going to land in a funny position, but
Yeah.
one person might roll their ankle and break a ligament. One person might just roll it and like be like, oh, that was weird, but I'm fine.
Yeah. 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 100%. And I've had so many experiences like that. Like, especially, the level of netball I play, it's really contesty. It's really tough. And I always remember one, and I'm a defender as well, so I'm particularly tough. The
So you're
defenders
coming
are
in for
the
like
shooters are princesses, and defenders are meanies. But yeah, I remember being on court, and I remember going for an interception, and I was going for this interception. One of my other players also saw the same thing. She went for the interception. And then obviously the person who the ball was aimed for was also going for the ball. So there's three of us going for this ball. I got the ball and the both of them clattered into me. They were on the floor, but I landed absolutely fine. And I
Mhm.
100%, if I didn't do like all the work that I did, so, got good landing mechanics, I've got good strong legs, I've got good strong core. So my body understands its position within space. If I didn't do that, I would have also been on the floor and, risked an injury myself. Thankfully,
Mhm.
the other two are okay as well. Nothing happened. But it was just so funny how both of them literally just bounced off me. And I just was left there standing with the ball in hand.
Yeah.
And it's like just little things like that can really make a difference.
Yeah. Also improves your confidence, as in like
Mm,
you probably feel a little bit more confident in that space because you're without thinking about it, but your body's more robust, your body's more resilient.
yeah.
I've noticed that actually in like it's weird because growing up I didn't ever wrestle. I know some kids like wrestled. I don't know, you had brothers that you wrestled with, and I remember a friend saying to me like, "Well, you remember when you used to wrestle as siblings?" I'm like, "No, we didn't do that. We used to make up dance routines." But anyway, but and then as a young adult, I really didn't like the idea of it. But now I'm much more likely to get into a bit of a play fight, and I think it's because I think I'm also hypermobile. So I think maybe like 5-10 years ago, everything about it felt weird. I was like, I don't want to like play. I don't. That feels really uncomfortable in my body. I didn't specifically think it through, but I guess I felt nervous because my body felt fragile.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm much more likely to have a little like get into a wrestle with someone or yeah, be a bit more physical because I think my body just feels much more, and that would make sense with netball as well, of like you being more confident to go in there and grab the ball, knowing two people are going to clatter into you, but actually that's less scary because you just feel like, well, okay, we're just going to bump shoulders, it's fine.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
feels fine. Um, One thing I was going to chat to you about was we were going to talk a bit about like funny gym stories. I don't know if you have any that come to mind, but how like we're talking about how valuable going to the gym has been for our sports and also for like lasting longer in our sports, but also feeling more excited about our sports because when you're progressing, then that's really exciting and that makes it much more motivating to go back out and train again and again. And the gym is one of the things that has made that present, that has made that happen. But on the flip side, we also know that the gym can be a very intimidating space and very unwelcoming. We're women, and obviously, I hope there are women listening to this, but not only for women. I know this is absolutely valid and true for men as well. Is that, or anyone else, but is that like going to a gym for the first time, maybe worrying that it's going to be really busy, worrying of embarrassing yourself, like not knowing what to do in the gym, not knowing how the equipment works, especially January, probably it being really busy. So just not there not being space, like cramped spaces, and also like overstimulating noises. So I'm someone who, in the last few years, for whatever reason, but I've become much more sensitive to noise. I walk around most of the time with AirPods in, and actually it helps. And you know what? If it helps, then do it. So I have both loop earplugs and headphones. I don't actually really use loops out and about, but I always have them on me. Loops are these, it's just a brand actually, but basically earplugs that are a little bit smaller and look nicer and also allow you to still hear the conversation. So loops are designed so you can still have a conversation with people at your table, but just it quietens the background noise. So I always have them on me for things like restaurants where sometimes there can be really loud background noises. Very rarely I have to wear them, but when I do, it's when actually a situation has become a bit like, yeah, this is kind of triggering me or sort of just making it hard for me to stay in this space. And sometimes something like a loop earplug can be enough to then carry on and stay and enjoy the evening. But in the gym specifically, it's as simple as like putting your headphones in, even without any music playing, just to soften like the overstimulating noises, or obviously with music. So that's one thing that really helps me in the gym. It also helps me because I feel like it puts me in a little bubble and I don't notice people as much.
Yeah. I think if I forget my earphones
Yeah.
or like I went to the gym the other day, my AirPods are getting quite old, so one of them doesn't last very long. And I
Yeah.
put them in the other day and it lasted all of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So at least I had one that worked, but it was really frustrating not to have because I'm the same. When I have my AirPods on, I'm in my own little bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's it. And I know it's hard initially, but it is kind of blocking people out and just staying in your own lane and focusing. And one of the things that I think really helps is having a plan. Actually, something I was going to say to you that you mentioned at the start that I thought was really valuable, so I'm going to go back to it, was you mentioned about hiring a coach. And I think you cannot underestimate, I think what people can underestimate when you've not experienced it before is the power of finding a good coach and working with one. And I know a lot of people will see that as like a huge expense or a huge privilege, but like it doesn't have to be for long. Great if you can work with a coach your whole life, amazing, and a fantastic investment. And again, it can be honestly as little as like 150 £200 a month, which for what it gives you is really nothing. And a lot of people pay that just to go to the gym. But even if you're like, no, that's crazy, I can't afford that, even if you just did it for like 3 months, the power of working with a coach who listens to you, who tries to understand you or gets you, and who teaches you how to train in the gym. You could work with a coach for 3 months and then that could change your life. And I feel like we didn't really stop on it, but what was your experience working with that coach? And yeah, you mentioned it very briefly that the first thing you did was to get a coach. So you said to learn to lift, to then go into your coaching course a bit more confident, but I think actually it gave you more than that.
Yeah. So my first coach, so I've had a couple of coaches. I like to experience different people's way and learn off people how they coach because everyone coaches differently. So I've learned lots from every coach that I've had. So my first coach, I stayed with him for about a year. I learned a lot about nutrition. I knew nothing about nutrition at all, really. I think I used to do triathlons, and so I understood how to carb up.
Yeah.
Probably
Well,
about the,
something, but
the
I
extent
think
of my nutrition knowledge.
I
But
think a
yeah,
lot
I
of
didn't
people
know
do the
anything
same.
about nutrition at all. I'd never um, really understood it. My history with food was binge restrict and eat as little as possible. And then obviously that doesn't end very well. And yeah, so I learned a lot about nutrition and what works well, what doesn't work well, what quality nutrition looks like, and how. Because obviously I was quite overweight having had children, especially after my second. Because obviously I was still in this bad relationship with food
Yeah.
and I knew it was going to be my last. So I was like, I'm just going to make the most of this pregnancy, eat whatever I want, whenever I want, not really, again, understanding the role nutrition can have, even, especially in pregnancy. And so I did put on quite a bit of weight. So my initial thing as well was to lose body fat. Every other time I tried to lose weight was always about eating as little as possible, starving myself, those kind of diets, all the fad diets. Um, and he showed me a way in which I could do it sustainably, healthily. And I've like 5 years later, obviously weight fluctuates, blah, 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 throughout the year, through seasons and things like that. But I've never put the weight back on.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
I've maintained it, and I've understood. And obviously, I'm nutrition qualified myself now. I've done EIQ and things like that, and I know more. But
Yeah.
that was one of the things that, from having a coach, that has been absolutely life changing for me. My
Yeah.
relationship with food has completely changed. My relationship with my body has completely changed. I understand how to fuel it. I understand how to train it. I understand how to lift weights. I understand why we do things when. And obviously, and not just from my first coach, but from all my coaches, I understand like how things fit in, and how to, how to treat myself, and how to look after myself. I'm really what's the word, aspire not aspire yeah, I always aspire, I always push myself, I always want to be the best at whatever I do, and blah blah blah. And so I'm really harsh on myself. Everything I do, I'm really bad at, like, it's never good enough, it's never good enough. And just, through some of my coaches, I've been able to look at myself a little bit more compassionately, a little bit more objectively, and be just a little bit kinder to myself, without giving up that aspiration that I
Yeah.
want to be the best.
Yeah.
And being able to do that has helped me then have my relationship improve with my training and my
Mm.
food. And it's like, you said about training and seeing that performance on the netball court, that definitely gives me motivation to go back, because I don't want, you're probably the same. Even as a personal trainer, do I want to go to the gym at 6 o'clock on a Friday morning because that is one of my gym slots that I can guarantee? No, I do not. My alarm goes at 5:30. I don't want to get out of bed when it's -3 outside. I don't want to do it, but I do it because I now have trust in myself that I'm going to carry out what I say I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I now do it because I don't want to give up not the one thing, because I obviously have family, but the one thing that really is there for me and always has been there for me, and that's netball.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to give that up. So for those reasons, I do get out of bed at 5:30 when it's dark and cold to go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, as much as I really, really don't want to do it. And I know I'm always pleased that I do. And you finish, you're like, within an hour, you can be like, I'm so glad I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's, that feeling again where if I didn't go, and you do that again and again and again, you lose trust in yourself. And then you're like, you never then want to start anything, because you don't want to admit to yourself, you are not going to follow this through. You can't be trusted to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And so having a coach there has given me that kind of level of accountability and help to do that. So I do trust myself. So, there are times, when I haven't had a coach, I follow my own. So I have a group program, Net Strength. I follow my own program because I'm quite good at programming, I think, for netball. And so, that's what I do. So I know my program works because I am a result of my programming
Yeah. Yeah.
myself. And I don't always need a coach there because I can trust myself to go.
Yeah.
So, having that accountability as well is huge. It's really
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Someone to support you, to keep you accountable, to call you out on your own bullshit, but also be compassionate to you when you need it.
Yeah.
And that's where, when you can get a really good coach that can find that balance with you,
Yeah.
that's priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, for me it's accountability is huge. And I I noticed last night that one of my clients hadn't done the last 3 workouts, and I was like, it is very strange for her, but I was like, whoa, hang on, what's happened? So immediately I messaged her and I was just like, hey, how are you doing? I noticed you didn't do your workouts. Like, is everything okay? And I know, because also I know her, and I'm very like, I'm not very different with every client, but I'm different with every client. Like, I know what they need. And with her, I know one of the things she came to me was the last coach I worked with didn't reach out. It would be like he would write a program and then I'd hear from him in 6 weeks. And she wanted specifically something different from that. She wanted more accountability. So I also knew I could message her and be like, what's going on? And then she replied this morning. And that's, that kind of accountability of like, knowing that she had a perfect explanation for why, but equally knowing that someone's going to, check in on you, and knowing that someone's going to be like, right, well, in that case, so she'd been away on holiday and she'd been on a cycling holiday. So she's been very active and she hasn't been to the gym, but it's fine. So she's going to be back on it today, back on her nutrition plan, back on her training plan. And she probably would have done that anyway, but she also got a message from me being like, hey, everything okay? And we're having a catch up on Thursday and we're going to go through her next plan. So that's the kind of accountability you get from a coach, is someone that's going to pick you up when motivation starts to drop. And also someone, what I really love is like, if you do get to the gym and the exact machine you needed isn't available, you can message them and be like, I use this one instead, is that okay? And then they'll be like, yep, next time you can do the same again. Or what about this? That could be an option. Someone to also just chat to and help find solutions, but also help you better understand like the different exercises in the gym and why you're doing them. I really often, when I program, I'll write a little note of like why I gave them that, because I want them to know why I did it, so that they do it with intention, not just like, oh, it's another exercise. Like, it might just be a one-liner, but it might just be saying like, actually, this exercise, I really want you to do it, so like really follow it, and this is why, because I think it can help with your lower back issues or whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits, but I wanted to pause on that. So, because if you haven't experienced working with a coach, I just can't emphasize enough how much difference it can make, even if you do it for a short period. Or a lot of my clients have been with me for like over 2 years, and it becomes a friendship as well, and it becomes this really supportive person. Some of them I've never met, and I'm actually really excited because in April we have a photo shoot we're going to do all together, all about empowering them and them feeling great in front of a camera. And it's actually really exciting for me because I haven't met a lot of them. So we're all going to be together, and then we'll all go for dinner after, and that's going to be a really, really cool day.
Yeah, I plan to do a summer camp. So you always see like a lot of the coaches that you'll see online that work with individual clients usually work with children. So under 18s, they work one-to-one and that kind of thing. So again, I'm one of the few that works primarily with adults. And you always see like during the holidays, you have like summer camps or holiday camps and things like that, and they're always there for the kids, obviously as school holidays, as like a thing like that. A lot of sports and schools do that kind of thing. And so a lot of my clients always said, can't you run a summer camp for us, like over a weekend? So I'm going to do one in the UK, and a lot of my clients want to come along to that and have a netball weekend camp. And that would be really good because, again, like I haven't I don't meet most of my clients. I never meet them. And I've got clients all over the world as well. So the chances of meeting them are very small.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to be invited out to Australia.
It's true. It's funny. It's this new age that we live in, which is amazing because it works, and it means that, someone who has found you or I online and is like excited about us, you can absolutely work with them. And I say, I don't meet them, but a lot of the one-to-one clients, I have regular calls with them. So we still have a relationship, but you just don't meet in person. So that sounds, really cool to do a summer camp for the adults as well. So is there any story you want to share with us about, even at netball or in the gym, where something embarrassing that happened, or setting something up wrong and then realizing, or walking into the wrong class, or a netball fail?
Well, I've had many gym fails, but particularly as like I do a lot of box jumps and that type of thing, because obviously that, I'm sure you do the same because you need to jump. The amount of times I've failed on the box in front of everyone, and no one, one of the things when you talk about being intimidated in the gym, people think that everyone watches you, and they really don't. But you can always guarantee if you're going to fall on the box jump, someone would have spot you. So I've done that so many times. And then I do remember as well working on increasing my box jump height, and I managed to hit a PB a couple of months ago, and I jumped on the box, and I couldn't believe I got on there. I actually celebrated myself in front of the whole gym.
And then you catch yourself doing it.
I'm like, I don't care, I've just jumped on. I think I managed to get up to I think it was like, it's not hugely high. I'm not that high as a box jumper, but I think it was like 32 inches.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
highest I've ever done.
It's
So
good. Yeah.
yeah, I celebrated myself on top of this box in front of the whole gym.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and that's you're in a
No
good
one
place.
noticed.
You
No
just
one
don't
clapped
care.
me. No one noticed. But if I trip on that box, you can always guarantee someone will see that.
It's true. And most people don't notice. I think it is repetition. It is like just going and then you get less bothered and yeah, realizing that most people don't care, they're too busy checking their phone. But
Yeah. And
now
just
more
laugh
than
at
ever.
yourself. Like,
Yeah.
if you trip up on something like that, it's just like you would on outside. You know, I probably spend more time on my arse than I do on my feet on the netball court, and you just laugh. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, just laugh at yourself. Another
It is.
gym fail I did is I was doing back squats, and I put a plate on one end of the bar, and then went. I was obviously in my own world, and then I went to go and lift the bar, and I was like, "This feels a bit weird." And I looked to my left, and I actually forgot to put the plate on the other side.
Yeah. 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 So I've done that once and it really surprised me because I was like, how did
How
I
did I forget that?
yeah, how did I do that? And because I had, the bumper plates, which are the big plates, and then it was the little ones, so you can't see them while you're squatting because they're on the end. And so I put one on, but not on the other side. So I did my squats and I was like, felt a bit weird. And then I went to look and there was like, I can't remember, maybe like 2.5 on one side, but not on the other.
So mine was one big plate on one side and
And
nothing on the other side.
zero. And you're like, it's completely
And it
swayzy.
was really like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
how did I not know that I didn't put one on the other
Yeah.
side? Yeah. I've also smacked the bar in my face several
Mhm.
times doing cleans, done
Yeah.
that loads of
Like
times.
hit your face. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I've done that recently. I feel like I can't remember what I did because I think I tried to delete it from my memory as soon as it happened, but maybe with the cable machine and the rope or something, and it like hit me in the face. And it was something where it was like, oh, or the rings, like that I let go of them and they swung out, so I didn't really think about them anymore, and then it swung straight back into my face. And it's just like, oh yeah, oh well, whoops.
And a kettlebell halfway across the gym doing kettlebell swings, and I was doing single-handed, and I was like changing between the
Oh
hands,
yeah.
and I miscaught, and it went flying. Luckily, it
And
didn't
there
hit
you're like,
anyone.
actually, yeah, putting other people at risk. And then things that also happen, like, so I've recently changed gyms, or I've stopped working as a PT in a gym. So as a personal trainer, you usually train in the gym you work at. So I've never had to have a gym membership for years and years and years. And then now, because I work online, I've had to get a gym membership, which is really strange. So now I'm suddenly in a commercial gym, and actually, it's all right. I'm surprised. It's actually okay. I quite enjoy working out there. There are lots of things that annoy me about it, like yeah, these things. So when I've worked in personal training studios, they're often a little bit more niche, a little bit more specific. Nothing crazy, but it just means that usually the owner of the gym also works there, and he or she or they really care about the equipment and stuff like that. So often it's quite good equipment. Um, Going back to a commercial gym, I've realized like things you had forgotten is like every time I'm doing either pull-ups or like toaster bar, like hanging knee raises, things where you're hanging, there's the bar, but there's the handle rather, but there's also loads of rubber around it, which might feel a bit softer on your hand, but as I'm hanging there, slowly the rubber starts to rotate. And I'm just like, whereas when you have a straight scaffold or a bar, you still might lose grip, but that doesn't happen. You don't have the rubber
Yeah.
rotating. So I'm like, things like that make pull-ups so much harder. And so I do think when people are trying to learn a pull-up, if you're also doing it in a commercial gym, it probably is harder. And sometimes the handles are set already really wide. Whereas on a
Yeah.
straight, just one long bar, you can position your hands at the right width for your shoulders.
Yeah.
So just so people know, if it's harder, it might also be that the setup is hard. Some setups are harder than others. A really fat bar is going to be harder than a thinner bar as well. And what was I going to say? Oh, that I was doing toaster bar, which is something, yeah, I trained quite a lot, so I'm quite comfortable with it. So I was doing my toaster bar, came down, sort of like dropped down onto the floor. And the guy next to me, because you're quite close in these spaces in the gym, was doing like pull down. And then he stopped and was like, was that toaster bar? And I was like, I had to take my AirPod out, but I was like, yeah. And he was like, why don't you do toaster bar into a burpee? And I just was like, really like embarrassed, which is like, I shouldn't feel embarrassed. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was stood there like, he was quite a good looking guy, very ripped, had all his muscles out. And I just stood there like, yeah, I mean, I could. I just was like, none of it made sense to me, but I also couldn't think straight. I was like, I don't know what to say to this person. So I was like, I could. And I just smiled and said it a few times and then put my AirPod back in and carried on. But I was like, afterwards, I was like, why a burpee? And like, I assume it was just a comment to just start a conversation or something. But it's like, doesn't make sense. And also after that, I went on to do my weighted pull-ups. So like, why would I tire myself out with burpees when actually I want to go on to do something that's very strength and that you need a lot of energy for? Like maybe you can do burpees at the end of the workout. Totally fine. Nothing wrong with a burpee. But it was just such a random comment and really threw me off. And I felt self-conscious, but also I can imagine even more so if you're like quite new to the gym.
Yeah.
There you really do feel like someone's watching you. And what obviously were, but in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't care. I don't. It doesn't really matter. But I do feel like situations like that, I hope it's refreshing to hear that it happens to everyone and that you have to just try and brush it off and move on.
Yeah.
And like, again, having a plan and going into the gym with a plan, ticking it off, it kept me like that interaction. If anything, I found it funny, but then I just carried on with my program. And I really didn't worry about fitting burpees in. So again, having a plan can help you just have that confidence that's like, no, actually, I'm not doing burpees because my coach didn't program burpees. Thank you. But
Yeah. I had, this was quite recent. This was a couple of weeks ago. And I was doing some squats and some barbell back squats. And I'm at a commercial gym as well. And where you have the racks, so you're opposite each other. That's what they have in my gym. Sorry?
You're facing each other.
Yeah. So you're facing each other.
Wow.
So I was doing squats. I finished my set. He came up to me. I'd never seen him at this gym before. You know, when I normally see the same people, which is always funny because you go at different times. You can go at different times and you still see the same people. And you think, they must think I'm always at the gym. But equally, I'm thinking, you must always be at the gym if we are always here at the gym together. And he came up to me and said, I'm sure you know what you're doing, but what you need to do to improve your squats is, he actually said that I need to look up to the ceiling. So I'm like this when I'm doing my barbell back squat, which is like so wrong.
Yeah,
So I'm like, no, I was the same as well. So I had to take my ear pod out to listen to him give me some really bad advice about how to do a barbell back squat.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll probably admit what I was doing was probably not the greatest form, but I will caveat that this was 2 days after High Rocks and I was in significant amounts of pain.
Yeah.
So I couldn't squat deep. I was just going there just to move, just to do something to help with the extreme DOMs after doing a High Rocks race.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking at him thinking, I could turn around and tell you to fuck off and I'm a personal trainer or whatever. And so in the end I was like, thank you. To be honest, I've done High Rocks 2 days ago. I'm in a little bit of pain, so my form probably isn't great, but thanks for your advice. And put my AirPods on. But if I was new to the gym, that is quite intimidating.
Yeah.
Because then I'd imagine like if it was me 10, 15 years ago, I probably, if I'd been brave enough, because I'm sure your clients, particularly those are new to gyms, new to strength training, going up to the racks and doing anything with a barbell is probably the scariest thing to do. Yeah. And you have some old guy come up to you to tell you what you're doing wrong when you haven't asked for any advice or anything. You just mind your own business and he's there telling you what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
If that was me 10, 15 years ago, I would have put the weights back on. I would have got out of there and never gone back again.
Yeah. Or not gone to that section of the gym. Like even if you'd kept your membership, you'd have been so scared to go back again to the barbell. Also, you could also be in that middle ground where you're like taking the advice because, you know, it's advice and it's not even right. So it's just a reminder that because if you look up, you start to arch your upper back, which makes you then arch your lower back. So you completely lose engagement of your core. So it's not where you should be looking. You want to be looking kind of straight ahead in the mirror. Or someone said to me once, like where the mirror meets the floor, like kind of around there, not at your feet, but not up, just sort of somewhere in the middle. And so it's wrong what he's saying. And it would be very easy. I've had this experience with like, I'm working on a bar muscle up, and I get loads of tips from people. And actually, at the moment, I'm like, I don't want to hear any tips, or I only want to hear them from some specific people who I trust and really look up to. But because I was just getting tips from everyone, and they were all slightly different, and then I was just changing my workout all the time. And I was like, well, this isn't getting me anywhere, because actually I just need to stick to something, do it well, get stronger at it, and I really don't need to change my workout again. But every time it was really convincing. And that's really annoying too. So, you could be in that middle ground where you've got enough confidence to go, but you don't have confidence in your technique, for example, and in your form. And so then you're taking tips, and you can have every time you're there a different guy giving you a tip. And then it's like, well, now I've got all these 10 things, and I don't know where my toe is, and my foot is, and my ear is. And it's like, actually, none of it matters. You're squatting. Watch one video, maybe like of a coaching tutorial, or one, piece of advice from your coach, and just focus on that. Yeah. Because there can be, is how I feel a lot at the moment as well, that with Instagram as well, that it can feel like there's always this one thing that you're not doing, and it's like, actually do less, focus on like a few things and do them well, because that's what's going to make you feel different in 1 month's time, or even a week's time, rather than changing what you're doing all the time, and you're just going to be overstimulated. And
I've also been chatted up at the gym.
Yeah.
And I was on a leg press, and he stood by the leg press whilst I finished my set, and I thought, oh, he's going to ask me, like a lot of people do, which is fair enough, how many sets you got left.
Yeah.
So I finished it, and I looked up, because obviously you could feel them right there.
Yeah.
So I looked up, and I was about to say, I don't know, 1 or 2 sets, whatever I had left. And he was like, I can't remember how he started, but he then said, oh, would you like to go for a coffee afterwards? And I was like, no, I'm married, thank you very much. Thankfully, I have my wedding ring on. And he was like, oh, okay.
So
I immediately texted my husband, said, you need to treat me well, because I've just been chatted up at the gym.
As well, at the gym of all places, like where you're not even like clammed up. So, it's a good compliment. But it is funny, but it is a place where I feel like that happens more. So again, another intimidating thing, but that I feel like it does happen. Like there's this, I feel like, because I live in London, and I do kind of resent Londoners for like not chatting more. Like as soon as you leave London, people will actually say good morning to you, or like have a chat, and it's not terrifying. Whereas in London, if some stranger came up to you immediately, it's like,
don't talk to anyone in London.
No, whereas actually, although, like I am very like not used to it, I actually would like it. Like I was parking one of these like Lime bikes or forest bikes recently, and this guy who was also parking it just had a chat. And initially I was very like on the back foot, because we're not used to it. But then I was like, oh, that was just a really nice chat, and we should do that more. But I do feel like the gym is a place where you do get people just come up to you. And you do have to have a little bit of a thicker skin, or just also like, I guess, know your purpose, know why you're there. And if you do netball or you do parkour and you have an amazing program written by me or Leanne, or you have something that you can have confidence in, then hopefully that gives you a bit more confidence to be like, just go in, get it done, and leave. And if someone talks to you, laugh it off, or get through that.
Thank you. Put your AirPod back in and crack on with what you were already doing.
Exactly. I had one last funny story that this was at parkour, and I was standing on a wall doing a jump actually down to a small wall that actually really scared me, but I was very close to doing it. I kind of understood that I could do it, but I was just a bit scared. And then this person starts like walking down the street, and they were going to walk kind of in front of the wall that I would land on. So I was mindful of that. I looked at them, and it was my friend Richard. So I made eye contact, and I said, hi, like fancy seeing you here, because I just bumped into it. Like he just happened to be there. And then I was like, I'm just going to do the jump. I'll come down and say hello. So, because I knew I was really, really close to doing this jump. So did the jump, all went fine, got off the wall. Guy walks up to me and kind of sort of says something like a compliment of like, well done. Or I was a bit scared there for a moment, but well done. And I go to sort of hug him or say hello, and he just carries on walking. And it's only as I get closer to him, I realise it's not Richard at all. It's not my friend. It's some stranger. And I've just been talking to him with like the confidence of like someone I know really well. And my friends who were with me at the time, they go like, who was that? Because I could tell from my tone that I knew him, but then he didn't say hello to me. And I was just like, just wait a second and I'll tell you. So I waited for him to like walk a bit further. I was like, yeah, I thought that was Richard, but it wasn't Richard. And actually, I found it quite funny even at the time. I was like, I'm not even embarrassed. I'm never going to see that person. I am embarrassed, but I'm never going to see that person again.
Yeah.
And actually, he reacted to it quite well because he talked to me as well, kind of like he knew me. It was quite funny. I was like, oh, well, that's my eyesight for you. But anyway, embarrassing things happen all the time, even to the best of us. But yeah, you just got to keep going. And yeah, and I guess, yeah, I think the best thing is have a simple plan before you arrive. Use something I wrote down actually in my notes was like use familiar equipment first. Like if you are really unsure about the equipment, then go to the things you do know. Or do a little bit of research before, like watch a video on a back squat before you go in. So you've just got it in your head. Okay, this is what I'm going to focus on. And then accepting that a little bit of discomfort initially is normal, but it is going to get easier. And it's not a sign that you shouldn't be there, but actually it's like really good that you are there and that you are stepping outside your comfort zone. It does get easier, but also that it is okay to ask for help. Like that's what the staff is there for. And often they're actually really friendly. So like just going up and being like, I'm just not sure how to set up. Like I have it sometimes that I don't use machines often. So setting up like, what do you call it? Like a hamstring curl. Sometimes I'm like, how do you move the seat? Or like, where's it supposed to be relative to the machine? And actually, member of staff will absolutely show you that. So going and asking them. And
I still get like, I don't know about your gym membership. So I have a membership where I can go to any gym of the same group across the country. And one of the reasons why I am a member of this gym is so that I can do that. So when I travel around the UK, I can always go and use a gym. And so I've been to gyms in London, in Manchester, Ireland, Scotland, you know, all over the UK. And I walk in there. If I'm walking into a gym I've never been in before, I feel intimidated. I'm like, I don't know where the equipment is. I don't know what the vibe is because every gym is different. So like there are 2 gyms near me that I go to mainly, and they've got, even though they're the same company, they've got very different vibes. And the one that I like more is the one that I obviously go to more. It's got a better vibe. The staff are really super friendly. They even know my name and they talk to you and blah, blah, blah. Equipment's better. But when I go to somewhere else, I'm like, I don't know where the equipment is. I don't know what type of person comes here and things like that. So I always obviously go in with a plan, either follow my own program, or if I was with a coach, I'm obviously following their program that they've written for me. And the biggest advice that I give, and I give to my clients as well, if you're new to the gym or you're going to a new gym, everyone knows how to work a treadmill. So go on the treadmill and just do some walking. And then whilst you're there, just scan the environment. So because you know what you've got to do. You're like, right, I'm going to do I start with a barbell back squat, for example. I'm like, right, where are the racks? How busy are they? Am I going to get one? Yes or no? Okay, it's so busy here. I don't think I'm going to get one. Right, where are the dumbbells? Let's just do a goblet squat or something instead. I need cable machines. Where are they? I need the leg press machine. Where's that? And you can just scan the environment, and you can then start making a mental plan of how you're going to move around the gym. And that, just doing that, you know, as well as you're, you know, getting your steps done, you're warming up as well on the treadmill, and doing that will help you. And if you're like, I'm supposed to do some box jumps, but the boxes are over there, it's really busy over there, I don't want to, just go, okay, I'm just going to leave that for now. I'll come back to it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to suddenly lose all your netball or parkour performance because on that day you didn't do your box jumps. Just gain a little bit of confidence doing what you can. And then next time you're like, you finish it, not only will you feel amazing and so proud of yourself, you're like, actually, it wasn't that bad. And next time I'm going to go and get those boxes out and I'm going to do some box jumps. Or I'm going to get the smallest box out and jump on those. So I know I'm not going to do any box jump fails. So I won't embarrass myself or anything like that. But then I'm doing something towards the program that has been written for me. And it's just doing things like that will just make just really help build your confidence when you're there,
Yeah.
and realize that you A, belong there, and B, it's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah. You belong there. That literally the gym is there for you, for for us and to train. And as much as it is embarrassing, it is awkward sometimes, but that's okay. And it does get it 100% does get easier. You also learn what you can switch things out for. So for example, I was thinking while you were talking about box jumps, rather than jumping up to a box, you could do some squat jumps. If you're like, oh, but I'm away for work in Manchester for like 3 weeks in a row, and this Manchester gym is really busy, and I don't really know what's going on. Okay, well, I still want to get some plyometrics in, so you could do some squat jumps. It's not exactly the same, but it's still going to keep like, your joints and your tendons exposed to that landing impact. You can also text Leanne. You can text your coach and be like, what's an alternative? But you can also, like I was literally visualizing scanning the room on the treadmill, which is a great idea. You also might notice, like, what do the staff look like? What do they wear? So that you could potentially ask, who looks friendly at this new gym I'm at. I've noticed like who works there, and actually they all look quite friendly. And whenever I've gone up, they've been like more than helpful. And this gym, I find it a little bit intimidating in terms of the people who go there, but actually the staff are really friendly. So actually that's a great idea, because then you familiarize yourself with the space before you've even begun, and you kind of have a purpose rather than standing in a corner looking. You're on a treadmill, so people are like, okay, whatever, they don't notice you're even doing it.
Yeah,
a great idea. I'm conscious of time. I will let you go, and thank you so much for coming on. It's really nice to
it's been great. I could chat for hours.
I know, right? I would never have thought there were so many sort of similarities or crossovers between netball, but the more we've spoken, even over the last few months, the more there is. And I think also, and it's a very new thing in parkour, but the idea of longevity, or how to train in your 40s, 50s, and so on, which we are talking about more, and there are examples of that now, but what you're doing is what you're doing, and I think it's going to come up more and more in parkour as well. So yeah, it's great. It's always great to chat to you, and I'm very inspired. For those that don't know, I'm very inspired by Leanne, and I have often looked to her and what she did with her coaching business to understand what I could do with mine, because we both
that's such a huge compliment, because sometimes it's like raising kids. I ain't got a fucking clue what I'm doing. I'm just going day to day.
But it's true. I was inspired by Leanne a year ago, or 9 months ago, where she had gone from being like a fat loss coach and a strength coach initially. That was like the first approach, to then leaning into netball. And as those of you that follow me know, like, I kind of did the same initially. I was sticking to the traditional route, nothing wrong with it, but a strength coach and a fat loss coach, and then realizing that that's what everyone does. And actually, I do happen to have something like you that's a bit different, that makes people remember me, and it's parkour. And I was always like kind of hinting at it and introducing it a bit, but never like fully leaning into it. And then I saw you doing it, and I was like, oh, so you talk about netball all the time? And you were like, yeah. I was like, oh, maybe I can do that too. And now I talk about parkour all the time. But I love it, and it is what I'm passionate about. And it's what's great is it comes across, like, it's very obvious that I'm passionate about it. And that just makes you a much more authentic coach as well.
Yeah. I also love watching your videos, also behind, hidden, my hands over my eyes when you're high up. I'm like, oh my goodness, please survive. I can only assume, because this has reached Instagram, you've survived this jump.
That's funny. Yeah, that's what my friend's dad used to say. He'd be like, I only like watching your videos when you've come back home, because I know you've come back home. But no, it's not. No, and it's not. Increasingly, it's less about the risks and more about, like I say, dancing on walls and creating like cool flows and choreographies over walls. And I love parkour because it does make you feel like you have so much control of your body, and it's really cool. But
Son loves it. He, like, even this morning walking to school, he did like a massive broad jump, and as he was jumping, he was like, parkour. So I'd really like him to get into it. Like, there's actually like a kids club. They're based in Epsom, which is a bit too far, and then they were bringing a class to Hawley, which is our hometown. But it's like 7 days a week that you could pick. The one day I cannot get him there, which is on a Thursday, and it would be after school. Both me and they stay in after school club, the kids, because I'm then coaching and my husband's still at work. So it's like, why does it have to be a Thursday? If it was any other day, I would have been able to get him there. And so I'm just hoping that is going to be really successful, that they then offer
Yeah.
additional evenings.
I wonder, it might be the guys I know. I can't think of their names right now. But also it could be like a birthday party or like a one-off to see if they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like when opportunities come up. Anyway, when they come up, they come up. But yeah. Yeah, it's good. Kids love doing it. And it's kind of like we all did it as kids. And it is just like balance. I think balancing along a wall. Obviously, I've not got kids myself yet. But like the idea of like sometimes I see a kid like climb on a wall and walk along it. And sometimes the parents like, no, be careful, get down. I'm like, I understand, obviously, you don't want your kids to do things that are reckless, and they shouldn't do things that are reckless, but actually being able to walk along a wall and balance on it is probably quite good for them, so that if they do get stuck trying to get a ball back, they're actually quite good at it. So I'd be more like standing next to them, so that we do this in parkour as well, so that if you need to put your hand on my shoulder or on my hand, you can. I'm going to let you do it, but on your own, but if you want, I'm there. And actually just let them do it, because actually it's all like coordination, proprioception, keeping them strong. You know, if anything, kids sit on the screen now more than ever. So on the way back from school, getting them to walk along the wall, I think it's good. As long as,
I mean, my daughter does gymnastics, and my son Reese, he used to do gymnastics and trampolining, but he didn't want to continue. But she's continued with gymnastics. And we've actually, so my home gym is now, I sold a bit of equipment over Christmas. And we've now turned that my gym into her gymnasium. So she's got a bar in there. She's got a
an air track.
Air track. She's got an air track in there. She's got a beam in there. And sometimes I can't watch her because I'm like, oh my God, don't hurt yourself.
That's so
she
cool.
is like confident as anything, and she's and you know, I'm so conscious about things that we talk about at home because of things that were said to me as a kid. That we always talk about how strong we are, and we show our guns and things like that. And for a 6-year-old, my daughter's got some guns on her, I tell you. I am so impressed. But that's all because of the pull-ups she does. Like she can do a muscle up. No problem at all.
Wow.
I know, that's like so cool. Watching her on the bar, because it's been in the house. I mean, it's a bit sad because now it's in the gym, she'll do it less, whereas the bar used to be in the living room. So literally all day, every day, she'd be on the bars.
Just playing on it.
And after school, every day, she'd be on the bars. It is a bit sad because it will be less. We just can't have it in the living room anymore.
Yeah. No, but it's what she has it at home.
Yeah.
And they're just playing on it, and they're just like trying things, and that's really fun. That is actually what parkour is. When I go out and do parkour on a Sunday, we have like a long session, and actually when I take a step back and think of what we're doing, we're just trying things. And actually as an adult, we stop doing that, and even if we do go and play like a bit of sport, like a badminton session, you're kind of just sticking to the rules. Whereas the nice thing about parkour is there are rules, but there also aren't. There's a lot of it that is just like, we're in this place, there's this random little gap. Let's try doing a roll over the gap. I don't know. Does it work? Does it not? Can you fit through that? And that's actually, for me now, really, really normal. But when I take a step back, I'm like, oh, we're just a bunch of adults like trying things. But it's socially acceptable because we're in this, what we call community jam. So it's funny. But that's one of the great things about parkour. And I think more people should do it or try it. I'll bump into your son in like 5-10 years time somewhere, and I'll be like, oh yeah, Leanne's my mum. Oh, I know Leanne. That's what will happen. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Leanne. If people do want to now follow you, where can they find you?
So Instagram's the best place. So I'm at Coached by Leanne, and follow me.
Yeah, and they can also listen to your podcast, which is again Coached by Leanne, right?
Yeah, very originally named.
Coached by Leanne on Spotify. Thank you so much for your time. We will catch up soon, I hope. And if you enjoyed this podcast, give it a thumbs up, give it a review on Spotify, or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Speak soon. Bye.
Bye.